What's up everybody, welcome back to another video, and in this video we are going to be going over everything Pokemon Pokopia recently. Of course, the game comes out very soon, and I kind of wanted to get you prepared for it. I wanted you to know what you're expecting. And we're only going to be going over recent stuff, but everything recent you'll be caught up on, and the main recent things are the reviews just came out, and the people got to play it, and they made videos talking about their experiences, and it got high reviews, so we're going to be going over all that. But before we go over that, we're going to be going over what they showed about Pokemon Pokopia in the Pokemon 30th presentation. So, this video is going to be split into like two parts. First, Pokemon presentation, new info, then everyone's new reviews info. So, hope you're excited. I'm excited for Pokemon Pokopia, and let's dive into it. Okay, we're going to begin by going over everything in the Pokemon Presents that's new, and the first thing we're going to be going over is the Rotom. The Presents clearly made a big deal about it, and it's got a new stereo form, which basically acts like a radio, so you can listen to all the music in this game. And my one hope for this is in future, like, mainline games, if Rotom's in that game, he can turn into the stereo form. And I think it would also work perfect, because I personally would love it if they added the sound type, and this would work perfect with that. I'm just saying, think that would be a good idea. And if they don't do that, I personally don't think it would make sense, because they're like, why is it in this game and not others? But hopefully they add that. And also, though, so far, the music in this game kind of seems amazing. From what they showed in the trailer, and from info we have, the music's really good remixed music of old music. So the music's going to be surprisingly pretty good in this game. Next thing we got to talk about is the Greedent that is a chef, and they made a really big deal about it. And just like the Rotom thing, I feel like it's going to be a pretty big part of the game. This Greedent and the Rotom, it seems like it will be a big part of the game, just because they focused a lot on it in the presentation trailer. And it doesn't seem like it'd be a big deal, but why would they focus on it so much? So, it's definitely interesting, and this Greedent looks adorable. It looks adorable to see this Greedent in a chef outfit with a pot on his head. Have to mention it, it's adorable. And also, you can give food to Pokemon that want it, but you can also eat the food and gain special moves for planting things or giving your abilities upgrades, which reminds me a lot of the sandwiches in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. You'd eat the sandwich and get a boost depending on what sandwich you ate, which definitely seems very interesting. The only problem with that is I wasn't a big fan of the sandwiches in Scarlet and Violet, because it seemed, I don't like things that like time you, and it's basically going to be the same in this game, so I'm not really a big fan of that, but at least the Greedent looks adorable. And I say this in every Pokemon Pokopia video we make, but Animal Crossing, for goodness sake, this game takes so much inspiration from Animal Crossing. And especially when we get into reviews, like, when people play this game, they constantly refer to Animal Crossing, comparing the story and everything to it. So, if you like Animal Crossing, then you will most definitely love this game. And another thing the reviews mentioned was, it's a very specific type of game. If you like this, like, cozy game, you will like this game 100%. But if you do not like this cozy game, it's definitely not for you. And that's, like, definitely the vibes. I mean, I'm not opposed to cozy games, so I hope I love it. I'm definitely excited for it. And Animal Crossing vibes, definitely. And this thing applies a lot more if you prefer playing with friends or online. Personally, I do not care for online Nintendo. But if you do like online Nintendo, there is going to be a prop hunt feature in this game, and it seems very fun. I personally love prop hunt, but since I'm not into online things, I just don't get to really play it much. But if you're excited to play prop hunt, then yippee for you. And another thing about this game is there will be so much variety of Pokemon in this game. It won't have every Pokemon, but it will have select few from every generation, from 1 all the way to 9. I mean, we got Sprigatito, Rockruff, I mean, every generation you can think of, we're going to get Pokemon from. And that's really amazing, and I definitely think this is a good thing, and I am happy about it. But I feel like, at least Pokemon-wise, between generations, I feel like they have a hard time adding the new Pokemon in. For example, in the base game of ZA, there's no Paldea Pokemon. And I feel like a lot of times what Pokemon does is, between generations, the most recent generation, there's no Pokemon in it till the next in-between gap. But clearly, with this game and ZA's DLC, we're kind of branching out from that, which is of course good, because in my opinion, when you introduce new Pokemon, you know, it feels like they should be in other games, because it's like, why wouldn't they be? Another thing about this game is, from what we can tell, it is the epiphany of combining 3 games. Like, it is the most mixture of 3 games ever. Animal Crossing, which I've already mentioned, Pokemon, obviously, and then Minecraft. I mean, obviously it has a blocky style, but you build and break just like you do in Minecraft. So, it's very largely Minecraft focused. And if you love Minecraft, you will probably love this game. So, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, and Minecraft are like some of the biggest franchises of all time, so I feel like this game is hitting its mark. Also, this game has a buttload of creativity. Just like Minecraft, you can kind of build with any block however you want, and because of that, creativity really, really shines in this game. And again, like Minecraft, I mean, you can build like in the same style of Minecraft, so you can kind of just build whatever you want, which can make things very creative. And the world. We gotta talk about the world because it's very massive. There's loading zones in the game, which I don't exactly know how those are in the game, because why wouldn't it be an open world? But one way or another, there's loading zones, and those loading zones do take a while from what we've heard from people's reviews. But the world is very expansive. Like, completely expansive, very large, multiple islands, several Pokemon to turn into, to traverse. I mean, the world is so massive, and that's amazing. And another thing the reviews talked about was, like, this game, it takes about, like, 14, 15 hours for the story, but, like, you are definitely meant to make, like, that time last a lot more, like, over 100 hours, very similar to Animal Crossing, how it's, like, even once you beat the story, it's just going to very much continue. Now we are moving on to our reviews, what the reviews are, and what the reviewers said. And just talking about, like, the actual numbers the game got, it is extremely high. Out of all of Nintendo's first-party Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games, this is second place. Donkey Kong Bonanza is the highest reviewed game for its exclusives. This game is officially second place, and that is insane for a freaking Pokemon spin-off, and you have to understand what that means for the game. But first, what does that mean for Nintendo? Because it's like, okay, are their games going to be getting better from now on? Or is this a one-time thing? Because I think that's definitely a question we should be asking. Because I don't know, but I feel like Nintendo may have not intended for this game to be amazing. Now, I do think Nintendo, or Game Freak at least, put their heart and soul into this game, and to a very large extent, but I don't know if they intended for it to be this good, because they're like, we'll just get it out so people have something Pokemon before, Generation 10. And I feel like they might have been very surprised that people like it so much, but also very, warm-hearted, because you can very obviously tell that Game Freak and the Pokemon Company put, their heart and soul into this game. And if you look about what the scores mean for the game, it's insane, because, like I said, I feel like no one really expected it to be this good, but it is. The scores are, 90s, 80s, high 80. Right now it's at 89, probably will drop down to an 87, but I could see it just staying at the 87. So high 80s. It was at 90 at one point, but it did get brought down to an 89, but still super high 80s, and that means this game's wonderful. Again, I feel like no one really expected it, and because no one expected it, I feel like that means it's going to be amazing. It's the diamond in the rough, basically. So the reviews being so high is amazing. And now we're going to be talking about what the reviewers actually said about the game. And one reviewer said that, or this was a common point, of tons of transformations. The very large variety of skills and transformations that you can get from Pokemon is very, very large. And because of that, that's really good, and that just allows tons more gameplay. And of course, a very large part about the game is just getting more Pokemon skills, and for those skills to actually be useful is a good thing, because it gives people incentive to get more Pokemon, which of course will grow your playtime very largely. And then DK Bonanza. I wanted to talk about it because it's not crazy similar to DK Bonanza, but I feel like in two ways it is kind of similar to DK Bonanza. First, in the reviews, like I said, it is very high up there with DK Bonanza. Not a single other Switch 2 exclusive has made it this far. But also, you break stuff like Minecraft, but you kind of can just tunnel everywhere like DK Bonanza. The world is very manipulable. And then the story, we got 9 hours, and it's a good story, but it's not needed at all. You can basically see all of what the game has to offer without technically seeing the credits roll. Or you could see the credits roll and then play for another 100 hours. Very similar to Animal Crossing, where it's just like, even once you technically do the story, it is, you still play the game, because that's kind of how it was meant to be played, is for you to just continue way past the story, because that's the point, and that's why the story's shorter. But it is better from Animal Crossing, because from what I know about Animal Crossing is the story was kind of meh. It wasn't really there. It was just kind of like a checklist. From what reviewers are saying, it has more like lore and story. And I have to talk about the lore of this game. Like, it is insane, the lore, because you really are in a post-apocalyptic Pokemon world, and it's like, where are the humans? And the lore is insane, because from what the reviewers are saying, is like, that was like one of the best parts about the game, is just like the environmental storytelling. And like, all the Pokemon are like, where on Earth is the humans? Because no one can find them, and by now it's abandoned, and of course your goal is to figure out what happened. There's also like specific Pokemon to the story that are new, which is very interesting. And the lore is insane, because you can go and dig in a random spot and then find something that technically does nothing, but it gives you lore onto just what is going on. And it actually can have more of a darker theme from what reviewers are saying. Remember, all this stuff I'm saying are from reviewers that have actually played the game. And what they are saying is, like, it actually has almost more of a darker tone, because it is very post-apocalyptic. It is very, like, mysterious and kind of creepy on, like, wait, where is everybody? And even the other Pokemon you see are confused. And the performance is amazing. A lot of people are talking about how good the performance is, and it's great that the performance is good. And yeah, 60 frames drops every once in a while, but not enough where it's a big deal. Stays at 60 frames the whole time. But like I did say, loading times are long, but that's because it has to load, of course, the whole world, and like every time you adjust something, it has to now load that every time. So like, and there's tons and tons and tons of items and chests, which fill up apparently very fast, which make loading times long, but does not worsen your performance. It just makes loading times long. So if you're going to a new section, yeah, you have to wait a while to do it, but it's going to be running smooth while you're in that section. Another thing that was heavily talked about in their reviews was the environmental puzzles. The, like, environment you manipulated to get specific Pokemon to spawn. And at least from what I have seen, I have mixed feelings on that. Because especially at first, I was like, because I thought it was going to be too time-consuming, too tedious to find the perfect combination. But some things that I'm actually looking more forward to it is the fact that sometimes you're given clues, and they're like little instructions, which, from what reviewers said, it's kind of like building a Lego set. You have the instructions, and it's your job to build that. And because of that, and because like the clues and instructions you can obtain, I am feeling a lot more relieved. So, but also I feel like half the environmental puzzles for spawning Pokemon are going to be, I would hate it because I feel like it's going to be too tedious, and the other half I'm going to feel like this is amazing, it's like building a Lego set. So I definitely feel like when I get to that point, or when I do that in the game, it will be 50-50, like 50% fun, amazing, and then 50% very tedious. And that's actually more of a me thing, because I like to have order to things, and I like things making sense too. So to have like environmental puzzles where it's like, very like good luck, and doesn't give you much information, and it's very tedious to get the specific thing, I'm a little worried about that. But oh well. And then, like I said, humans, because like the story from what the reviewers talked about is you're trying to find out with other Pokemon like what's going on with the story. And we have seen clues in the trailer. We have seen Mossy Snorlax, we have seen a Smeargle, a Pikachu, things like that, and we know they're related to the story. We've also seen specific locations, like tons of street lamps, lots of fog, stuff like that, and Smeargle's painted everywhere. So the whole premise of the story is, where on Earth are the humans? Because we don't know, and we would like to know, because it's a little weird that they're gone. And there is surprisingly large praise about the game, and I mean, I dived into this earlier, but like, yeah, the praise for this game is amazing all of a sudden, mainly from the reviews, and it was already looking good, but now the praise is so high. And I've heard Pokemon, or not Pokemon fans, are actually interested in this game just because of how high these reviews are. Well, hope you enjoyed this video. If you've made it this far, maybe consider leaving a like, subscribing, helps out a ton. And Pokemon Pokopia really has some insanely good reviews, which is amazing. And the stuff they showed off at the presents just makes the game sound amazing, and clearly the reviewers agreed. So, thank you for watching this video. It means a lot. Peace out, everyone.